This is the Business Experience Show. And now, your host, Lisa Caprelli.
Welcome to the Business Experience Show. I'm your host, Lisa Caprelli. Today is my co-host, Michael Ashley. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you for having me.
Today we have the privilege of interviewing Doug Shea. He is with Inco Commercial, IncoCommercial.com. Welcome, Doug.
Thank you.
Hey, Doug, you have how many years in the real estate world? 30 years?
30 plus years.
Okay,
correct.
give some background to our listeners and viewers about your background in real estate and commercial.
Well, primarily, it seems like my whole life has been commercial real estate because the neighbor across the street hired me when I was 14 to build the buildings that we later had to fill. I didn't know that until I was in my 20s and hired me to come in and create the brokerage. So ever since then, I've been in the commercial real estate realm with a few other jobs in between.
And you've been in Long Beach your whole life.
I've been in Long Beach my whole life, from kindergarten all the way through Long Beach State.
That's amazing. And your company, Inco Commercial, is located and serves the area of Long Beach.
Correct.
And but you can help people anywhere in the country.
Right, and that's mostly because that's where all the triple nets are located, anywhere from Maine to San Diego. So you have to look at all of them all across the country.
Okay, triple nets, what's that?
Triple nets are your properties that are primarily something that is strictly no investment management at all. All you have to do is pay for the property, and there's no management. You've got, like, for instance, a good example would be a McDonald's.
Right.
A McDonald's is, did one that was in Aurora, Colorado. All it was a land lease. They paid the money, and now the landlord does not pay the taxes, does not have to pay for the roof, does not have to pay for maintenance. McDonald's does it all. So they call that a coupon clipper. You just put your money in there and receive about a 4.5 to 6% return on your money, a coupon clipper that you don't have to pay attention to, which is much better than in the bank.
Very good. I have a question for you. So you've been in the real estate industry for over 30 years. What do you love best about it?
The art of the negotiation. I love negotiating and get the best prices for my clients. I like finding out what my clients' needs are and then finding it exactly. So then it's the negotiation part. After that, my staff comes in and helps with the escrows.
So let's talk about some more of your background and the experience you have and how that will resonate with someone wanting to work with you versus a competitor.
I think primarily I get into the person's wants and needs more than others would. For instance, right away, if someone says, I don't like any properties outside of California. Well, 9 times out of 10, they just don't want to drive further to see their investment.
Or they've heard you should always be close to your property.
Right. So, okay, do you want to do a 2-hour drive? Fine, get an airplane 2 hours away. Okay, that'll get us almost to Utah.
Right.
So people don't really know exactly what they want, but being in the business and knowing what people will do eventually helps, I think. I think it's experience, of course.
So what are some questions, if someone were to call you up, someone that has not worked with you before, what are some questions that you do in your fact finding?
Primarily, what property are you selling to move out of the 1031 exchange? How much time do you have to find that property? Because there's strict parameters in a 1031 exchange to buy these triple net properties. And you have to name your property within 45 days close of your escrow. The other thing is you have to purchase the property within 120 days of your down leg close. So I have to ask them all about the transaction. Then I have to ask them what are their hobbies, just things about them. So, for instance, some people may not want to buy a certain type of restaurant, maybe through religious beliefs, through something else. So, okay, well, let's go into gas stations. Let's move into banks. Let's go into dialysis units, which is things I have sold all across the country.
That's awesome.
It sounds like a lot of what you do has to do with educating your clients. How do you go about that?
A little bit different because your clients normally at this juncture are older. They're wanting to get rid of their heavy management intensive properties. So if they're, let's say, older, anywhere from the 60s plus, they're not as adept at the internet. A lot of them are. So what I do is I have all the properties electronically, but I also have them all in books. So if you came to me and said, I'd like to sit down with you and go over it, I have books of all the properties across the country in my office, or just boom electronically.
So, Doug, I have a question for you. So, first, for someone who is new to commercial real estate and in buying or selling their first property, explain what down leg means.
Down leg is your property that you're selling. So you've owned a multi-family apartment building in the family, say, for 60 years. You no longer want to deal with it. You don't want to have it go to your kids because you've got 20 kids and they won't get hardly anything of it. So you're going to buy the up leg, which is the next property. So the property you're selling is the down leg.
So I read in your bio that you have, in the course of your experience, what's that million that you've helped in people buy or sell property?
Dispose of over $600 million in real estate.
That's tremendous. So give us one or two success stories on how you help someone.
I'll give you my latest ones because that's how the market is today.
Okay.
So since the banks are only giving about 1% on your return, we've got to go out and find 4, 6, 7% return from selling your down leg to your up leg. The latest one I did was in Michigan, a small town in Michigan, which was a dialysis unit. Dialysis units such as DaVita or Fresenius are very strong because we're not going to cure, kidney failure very soon. Right. So you need to have dialysis units forever, it seems like. All these have 25-year leases on them, 15-year leases on them. So that's strength and, conservative purchases.
Right.
Because you have 15 years, minimum. And that's what I did. I sold a property for a client. He said, hurry, I've got 45 days to find something. He wanted it in California. We went to West Oven, Michigan.
Got it. Okay, and what's a new property you have that you can use the show to showcase that property?
The newest potential sale is a property that might go on the market because American Apparel just declared bankruptcy. So it's their second bankruptcy, so they may not come out of it. So there's going to be a lot of units available for sale where American Apparel once was located. So one of my clients owns one and may have to make the decision on to sell it. If he sells it, he then has to go into an up leg so as not to pay all the taxes.
Got it.
I have a question. You are an expert in the 1031 exchange. Could you please explain what 1031 is and what it entails?
1031 is the IRS tax code. And what it does is it allows you, when you're selling your properties, and usually properties that you have held on for a number of years that have appreciated. So an example, if you've owned a property for 30 years and it's appreciated by $2 million, you'd be paying approximately a 33% tax on the gain of that $2 million. There's no reason for us to give all that money to the government. They have enough money. Thus, you buy another property of equal or greater value of what you owned, and you defer the taxes pretty much forever for as long as you own that property.
And so would you say that, how would you walk a client through this process who's never experienced a 1031 before?
Almost explaining exactly like I'm explaining, with adding the dates and the times on it. And then I also break it down on how much tax that they will pay if they sell it and just pay the tax. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a twofold method also. If you've owned the property for a long time, you have a lot of heirs also. Mm-hmm. So you want to protect your heirs and you want to protect your real estate, as when you played Monopoly, the winner was the one that had the most real estate at the end.
Sure. It
helps you build your estate.
Are there any things that people can avoid doing that you've seen problem-wise with doing 1031 that you would recommend, advise in either way what to do?
Waiting too late to make the decisions on the up-leg property.
Okay.
So if you're selling your property right now, you better be calling me so that I'm looking at all the properties if you're going to close your escrow within the next 3 to 9 months.
Right.
Doug, so what are some common myths people think, or maybe they don't know about? For example, maybe they think they want to retire. They're older in age. They owned multiple commercial properties, and they kind of think they want to cash out. What happens with that process?
Well, they cash out with a lot less money in their pocket because of the government. But the biggest myth that people hear on a 1031 is, well, if I own an apartment building, I have to buy an apartment building. That's not true. It's called like for like. So if I own a rental property, I need to buy another rental property. It can be, like I said, a McDonald's. It can be a multifamily. It can be a dialysis unit. It could be a bank. So it doesn't have to be that exact property that you own and move it into another property. You can move it into numerous different types, even a house. If you're going to sell yours and buy a multi-million-dollar house, as long as you rent that multi-million-dollar house out for a minimum, I believe, of a year to 2 years, it's like for like because you're now renting it out. It's income property.
So your clients must love you for this. And you have like a special worksheet that you help them with to figure out these numbers.
Right. Once you've signed up with our program, or hired me, in other words, then I have an Excel spreadsheet that we have put together that tells you exactly what your return will be, tells you how long your payoff will be, and what properties you should be buying across the United States.
And so that's a special perk with working with you, Doug Shea.
So it's proprietary to me.
Yes, it is. Awesome.
You mentioned talking about like for like, and in your experience there, is there a special industry within the 1031 exchange that you've worked with a lot that you feel that you have special knowledge with?
It appears that fast food restaurants are a big draw. So as I'm looking, and I look at hundreds of properties a day all across the country, but it seems like and you have to think in your own mind, what will stick around forever? Have you ever seen a McDonald's go out of business?
No.
Not too often. Have you even seen a Taco Bell go out of business? Not too much.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what I look at and see what's the most conservative, because the people that are selling are very, very conservative.
Right.
So I'd say right now fast food restaurants and dialysis units are two of my top favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about cap rate. What is the cap rate, and what does one of your clients want to be looking at?
In the real estate industry, we talk cap rates. Cap rates determine the risk and the reward of the investment. So if for instance, someone comes to you and says, I have a 4 cap, in your mind you need to think that, well, that's 4% return on my dollars. It's not exactly that, but there's a lot lengthier of a description, but that's the easy way to think of it. So I'll say a 4 cap is a McDonald's. I'll say a 7 cap is Frenchie's Restaurant. You know, Frenchie's Restaurant still has this 25 years left on their lease, but who knows them? Who do they have backing them? They only have one person backing. So that cap rate is going to be higher because of the higher risk.
Got it.
We were talking earlier, and you were talking about the market. Can you describe what the market is like today?
The market's going crazy today because everybody is selling their properties and needing to get into these protection properties so as to not pay the taxes, and because interest rates are so low. Even if you want to pay your taxes and put your money somewhere, where are you going to put it?
Right.
If you put it in the bank, you get a 0.5% return.
Right.
Sure.
Why not put it into a tangible asset that hopefully will appreciate, pay it off over the years? At least you still have the asset.
Absolutely.
So you've bought and sold property yourself. Obviously, you've been privy to look at what a good deal is and what a good deal isn't. So can you, if you want to share maybe a property you bought that you took and then now it's appreciated well?
Well, I've done a few, and some that are a little bit more unique is I sold one property and bought a rental on the mountain in Park City, Utah. So that turned into a vacation rental as I was selling another vehicle, in other words, on the down leg.
Right.
And now I have a place in Park City, but it's a rental. I didn't have to pay the taxes on the down leg,
Right.
but I still get to use it. So that was a fun purchase.
And so one thing that you enjoy helping your clients with are triple nets.
And these are all triple nets that we're discussing primarily, except for that Park City, Utah property. That is not so much triple net. That's more vacation investment. But the triple nets are the restaurants, the dialysis, the banks, Dollar General, Big Lots. You're seeing a lot of that out there right now.
And so let's talk about coupon clippers.
All right, coupon clippers is the adage in the industry that is no management intensive real estate. I gave the example of the McDonald's before. Another one would be this dialysis unit in Michigan that the person bought it. The dialysis company has to pay the taxes. They have to take care of the roof. They have to pay the maintenance. They have to pay the janitorial. And the landlord who bought it just collects a check every month. You don't even call that landlord to fix anything because it's a triple net investment, meaning that the tenant pays for absolutely everything. They love just a coupon clipper. They go to their mailbox, there's the check, no phone calls, no nothing.
Question. So do sellers ever use the type buying window to leverage a better price?
The sellers or the buyers?
Either one.
Yes, every single time. If I'm going in, I let the other people know, hey, we've got 45 days that we have to name this, and we have this amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
You want us, or do you want to go to this guy who's just bringing money out without a sale? So as a 1031, since there's such a timeline, it's a good negotiating tactic.
Right.
But it's not underhanded by any means. It's like you tell everybody what's going on.
It's for leverage, right?
Right, but they're happy to work with you too because they go, we know you have to disclose or close,
right,
and we know you have to disclose what the property is.
Mm-hmm.
So they would much rather deal with someone coming out of a down leg than they would just somebody with, I'm going to put so much money down and get a loan.
Right.
It's way cleaner coming out of the 1031.
Doug, if you roll the profits back into another purchase, how do you ever draw money out? Is that only through rent?
Not only through rents, but you're older at this point normally in your investment cycle. Mm-hmm. So you're getting the money monthly. You're not getting the full amount of the money. But if you did, let's use the example of selling a $5 million property, you've probably paid it off already anyway. You've owned it for that long. Right. Now you're going to buy another property for, say, $5 million, and you're not touching the principal. You're not touching any of that. You're getting your monthly amount. But a little bit later down the road, you can refi and take money out of that investment.
So is there room for a novice investor, or is this only for someone who knows what they're doing when it comes to 1031?
I could educate the novice investor, but it is much easier and nicer to go with a sophisticated real estate owner. Okay. And usually you are going to be sophisticated somewhat because you've sold your property you've held for a long time. Mm-hmm. The only time it's not is when there's an inheritance. And when there's an inheritance and they're going to sell the property outright, then those new people that have inherited the property are a little bit more naive and just have to be educated.
Okay.
So, Doug, 10,000 people turn 65 each and every day, and that number is not going away according to Pew Research. So what do you say to people? Obviously, we are not immortal. We are going to die. So for people who have tremendous amount of real estate, what advice do you give them on what they should be doing so when the inevitable happens, and how to properly take care of their loved ones with the passing of their inheritance?
Well, first they need to meet with a trust attorney and put their trusts together and put their estates together and things like that. But what also this is created is, as I was saying earlier, as you get older, you have kids, and then you have grandkids, and so on and so forth, and it disperses the inheritance to so small that then there's fights, and
right.
families inevitably fight. So if you can fix that before you pass away, or with your estate, or buy these triple net 1031s that are just simple money coming in situations, then nobody's fighting. I've just sold my apartment complex for $100 million. Well, now I'm going to buy 10, 20, 30 McDonald's, put each kid's name on it. You can do it that way, and those checks just come into them.
Okay, but say there's a family of 5. Parent has a family of 5. The parent has all the real estate, and those checks are coming in. Could they then order the sale of these properties? Or
they could still sell the properties. Kids could get together and say, we appreciate the money coming in. Mom and dad have passed and gone on. We need to sell these properties. Okay. But based on the estate attorney, all of that reduces taxes also.
As one way of doing it, I know you're not an estate planning attorney, but if they position themselves correctly, could they, in other words, order in their estate that they don't sell their property, that they keep on doing these monthly coupon clippers? Has any of your clients ever done that?
Or yes.
Okay. How is that? Tell us about that.
Well, the parents do it because they see how the kids what they can actually do. So this kid over here is a music major and is great in music, but has no idea how to manage money. So they say, okay, you're now going to inherit this Jack in the Box, and you're not going to sell it because I'm putting it in my will and I'm putting it on the title. You're not going to sell it for at least a minimum of 15 years, and then they're just receiving an income and not spending everything out right away. Because a lot of times on an inheritance, once they disperse, the money's gone, and the person that's not good at money management is broke within a year anyway.
Right, and I think it's a shame. You see that people work hard, and you know what it's to like to be an entrepreneur and work your butt off, and then your kids inherit this, and then they just spend it and do stupid things.
Which is so common.
Wow. So estate planning attorneys need to see the show.
Exactly.
To advise their clients.
Yes, and estate planning attorneys are knowledgeable of the fact that there's triple nets out there and 1031s and things like that. So they will call. I've had a few of them call and say, hey, can you help educate our clients?
That's awesome.
Well, speaking of young people, I want to change gears a little bit. I understand that you own the Soledad Enrichment Academy, or it's on your property, the charter school there.
It is, and the one in Long Beach.
Okay, and you're on the board of Young Entrepreneurs Worldwide, and they're beginning an initiative with that school right there. And I was wondering if you could explain what the Young Entrepreneurs Worldwide is and what the initiative is that you're involved in with that school.
Primarily, what we are looking at doing as we are just putting this board together is finding a way to bring the high school age kids into entrepreneurial spirit and giving them all the tools so that they can move forward through high school, through college, and once they graduate from college, know how to be entrepreneurial and how to start that business. So one of the aspects that we came up with at our last board meeting is to present it to the charter school that I have and give them all the tools right away.
That's great.
So you've had tremendous business experience, and you are a really good mentor to people I see at your office. What are some characteristics that you enjoy seeing in other people that makes them a good leader?
Primarily, they need to be able to relate to the people that are all around them and to never look at the people that are around them as being lower or higher than them. They have to look at them as equals at all time. And you see that as you're mentoring and as you're interning these kids. I'm not going to treat them any different than I am, my grandfather or someone lower, someone way younger. Mm-hmm. Treat everybody exactly the same, and they respect it. If you're treating a 21-year-old as a 45-year-old, they're happy. It makes them feel much better. And it also makes them smarter because you're talking to them at a level that you're at.
Mm-hmm. Well, that wraps it up for this edition of the Business Experience Show. Thank you, Doug Shea.
Thank you.
And we can find more information on your website.
IncoCommercial.com.
That's right. And thank you. You've been listening to the Business Experience Show. I'm Lisa Caprelli. Thanks to my special co-host today, Michael Ashley.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap. Until next time. Bye, all.